I think
I'll
there
second
was
that.
one adjustment we needed to make though, correct?
We just have one. Joe sent an email later this afternoon around 4 about construction admin services. So we just need to discuss that, whether we want to go continue on with contract. So can we just add that?
I'll rescind my motion to add that.
And I'll rescind my second.
Okay, would you like me to add that at the end of unfinished business or under new business?
It probably should go under unfinished just because it is a previous contract that Glenn was dealing with from Grissom Metz. So I think let's put it there.
Okay, so we'll add D, continue services with Grisham Metz.
Perfect. Yep.
Okay. So we have the motion, and then it was supported by Rod, correct? Yes. So if I could get the roll call then, Justin, please.
Yes, ma'am. Rod Charles.
Yes.
Dorothy Johnson.
Yes.
Pete Schultz. I think you're here now.
Pete disappeared.
He did? Okay. Laura Herfy is not here. Marie Powers.
Yes.
Bill Dunn.
Yes.
Justin Wilcock. Yes. Kelsey Cook.
Yes.
And Nicole Ellsworth.
Yes. Do we need to wait for Pete?
I'd say give him a minute or so and see.
Okay.
He might be re-signing on to get his sound working.
Okay.
Gotta let him back in the room, I guess. Nope.
Okay.
Where'd he go? I don't see him now. It looked like he was showing up in the waiting room, and I went to click to allow him, and he disappeared. So no sign of him at the moment.
Are we able to continue without him, or? Yeah. Okay. I guess we'll just wait and see if we see him again. Okay, we'll have the approval of the January 2021 special meeting minutes. I think we could do that, receive and file that, the police report and the code enforcement report if there's no changes.
Yeah,
I'll move
Second.
to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We could do the roll call, please, Justin.
Yes, ma'am. Bill Dunn.
Yes.
Kelsey Cook.
Yes.
Justin Wilcock. Yes. Marie Powers.
Yes.
Rod Charles.
Yes.
Nicole Ellsworth.
Yes.
Dorothy Johnson.
Yes.
Pete.
He just texted me. He's trying to sign on.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
question, who, I heard the voice for seconding, but I didn't recognize who it was. I want, for the minutes, some clarification. Who's seconding?
Kelsey.
Okay,
Kelsey.
I thought it was. All right. I wasn't looking.
Thank you. Okay, we can move on to the financials. The financial statement and revenue expenditure report and the bills for January 2021.
I move that we receive and file financial statements and revenue expenditure reports and approve the bills in the amount of $24,607.21.
I will second.
Okay, if we could get the roll call, please, Justin, again.
Yes, ma'am. Kelsey Cook.
Yes.
Bill Dunn.
Yes.
Marie Powers.
Yes.
Dorothy Johnson.
Yes.
Nicole Ellsworth.
Yes.
Rod Charles.
Yes.
Justin Wilcock. Yes.
Thank you very much. And then now we'll move on to the DDA reports. We have the executive director's report. I'll hand it over to Kelly now. She wants to do her report.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Well, it's been a busy month, but a really great month. And I really appreciate everybody and all of your help and responding to everything. I felt really good about this month and just really good about working as a team. I broke everything out in the report so that you could just have a little piece of information on each. The restaurant grant distribution, Nicole, do you want to take that since you started the first grant? And then I can follow.
Well, I think we're going to discuss that in new business. So I'll just give the report then and see.
Okay. So I'll just, I'm going to leave that one out then. So we're not talking about it twice there. Got some exciting news on the second round of grants that are coming out. Sorry, my computer froze here, you guys. That's okay. I can probably go off my memory for most of this stuff. But we did great with at least getting everything out to the different restaurants, and Nicole and I went through the application process for the second grant. And then we got some great news on the benches and cans that had been put off for months. We actually had somebody who I contacted for a quote, Angie Green's husband, who owns Evergreens, and they came forward and they're going to provide those services to us for free. So I put his email in there. I thought that was really, really great email back to us, and just really shows that these local companies are willing to work with the DDA. We did great with our realignment of committees. I really do feel like we have a good group of people sitting on each individual committee, and we ended up getting a lot done, even though it was just kind of our first meet and greet. I'm really excited probably about economic vitality, just because I know that one hadn't met for some time. And I just really feel like that group of people was really excited about the future of Oxford and bringing businesses here. And Rod did a really great job bringing some new people in, and we got some really fresh perspectives, which was really great. We finished up our promotions. So our fourth quarter promotions that were kind of just sitting there from Fridays with Friends, and then also from Bingo, we were able to have the block captains go out to the businesses, which we got a great response from them, just from the support. Honestly, I know that those things sat there for a while, but being able to go out to these businesses in January and February, which is most of their slowest times, it really did, I think, it was really heartfelt, and I really do think that they appreciated it. And so I contacted most of those winners. A couple didn't answer, so I have to get back to a few of them, but are able to provide gift cards to all of them on behalf of the DDA. Social media, I feel like we hit it out of the park. And if my screen wasn't frozen here, I would be able to tell you how well we did, but I did put it in the report. But just by stepping up our game on social media, we didn't spend anything in social media. It was all grassroots. So that was really great. But just from post engagements, we were up 95%. We ended up today, as of today, we grew just our page followers by over 250 people. And this is in less than 4 weeks. And I just feel like that's going the right direction. My focus for this month coming up would then be to focus more on the Instagram and also on the website. I felt like Facebook was a really good place to start because we do have such a great following there. So that was really easy to do. We were able to support the businesses as well, and we received really great feedback from them. And then, to be honest with you, moving forward is really just working with some of the business owners. Today, I was able to talk with Oxford Bank and start to heal that relationship. And they were really excited to move forward with us and really excited to hear about all the great things that the DDA was doing. So I think that we're in a really positive light, and I'm really excited about the things that are moving forward.
Thank you very much, Kelly. You did a great job this month.
Thanks.
And then I would like to, maybe Dorothy, if you could kind of touch on the promotions committee meeting for everyone.
Yep. Also going by memory, I didn't print that page out, but we did, like Kelly said, we have some new faces. So it was, we took a minute to kind of greet everybody. There were some new people I didn't know. So it was kind of fun to get acquainted. So we wrapped up, got kind of an update on when those winners were going to be announced for the bingo. And the other one kind of talked about possibly a grand opening for M24. threw out some ideas of maybe, I don't think we came up with a date, but maybe a season that we were going to do that. Talked about concerts in the park. I think, Kelly, you threw out some cool kind of feelers to see what people wanted to hear, what they wanted to see that event be. So I think that was really great too. I know I had to leave early, and you guys may have talked about a few things after I left as well. But then I think we talked about just some fun things we could do on social media just to keep our engagement, not necessarily business-wise, but just like downtown-wise, like with the pictures and the pieces of Oxford, kind of a Where's Waldo thing.
Yeah.
If I missed something, I'm sorry. I'm going by memory.
The only other thing I would have to add into that was great recap, is the farmers market. Putting that on the same night as concerts in the park and kind of making it a bigger event. And then maybe making some of the concerts moving forward larger, and making it like a smaller season. So maybe 8 weeks rather than 12, but having larger acts come in. But yeah, that was perfect.
Dorothy, did I miss that meeting, Dorothy?
You did. You were missed.
I mean, what day was it?
It was the second Monday of the month.
Wow, sorry.
That's no problem.
Okay. You come to the next one.
Okay, and then we have a design committee report.
What about economic vitality?
I think that is D. It's right after C. Design, it's promotion, then design.
Oh, promotion committee, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then E is design committee, C is promotion, right?
Well, I have C as design, and D is economic vitality, and E is the org.
Immaterial, okay. I have a different thought.
Okay, no problem at all. Is there the design committee report, if we want to touch on that, or was it basically just the design grants? And we're going to touch on that a little bit later.
Yep. So we're going to touch on the design grants later, but I think the design committee meeting went great. I think that there are just some really positive things coming through the pipeline. So even though there were some applications that were not complete, we're working with the business owners to help them complete that process. So there will be more coming through, and we got a good handle on the budget and what we have available and what we can allocate to them. So, and then we'll talk about the 2 different grants in new business.
Okay, awesome. And then we'll move on to the economic vitality.
Let me unmute here. As we've all said, it was nice to meet new people, and I did ask a couple new people to be involved, which is good to hear. One of the things I'm happy with is I had a commercial realtor sign up to be on board, which is nice because he has a pretty good handle on, let's just call it an outside perspective. You know, among other things, he talked about other DDAs as well as ours. So I thought that was a valuable addition to the group there. And just a headline from the things that Kelly put on the agenda already. What we discussed is each of us will take another community and compare it to Oxford, demographics, business-wise, et cetera. So Marie, that's something you and I want to follow up on. And the other thing we talked about is looking for a specific type of business that might be applicable to bring into the Oxford DDA district. So really two different things there. Hey, Bill or Joe Medor, that's baseball talk, by the way, just in case he wasn't paying attention. You know, doing his email or something. But anyhow, we talked about, like I said, a community. Each of us has a community, and then each of us has a type of industry. And Bill Dunn, that's where I want to look or talk with you about separately about maybe something like a cigar bar, wine shop, et cetera, that kind of thing. That was my particular assignment. Okay. So that's it.
Very good. We're excited to see what you guys come up with over the next couple months. We'll move on to the org committee report. Is there anything there?
We had an update at the time of how many applications we'd received for the executive search. At the meeting, there was 4 that so far. And then I believe, Nicole, that you've got the personnel committee picked out or whatever that's going to be doing the interview process and everything.
Mm-hmm. We are up to 6.
Over the capital improvement. Okay.
Yep.
We Went back to review some of the projects from last year, capital improvements. The sound system was the top of the list. It has been ordered, and I believe last week, the 50% payment was sent in to them so they can get the materials here. We're expecting delivery on it April of this year. We talked briefly about the benches and whatnot as far as getting the sandblasting done. You mentioned on there, Kelly, on the paperwork, it only shows the benches and the trash cans. It doesn't show the flower planters. So I wanted to make sure that we do get those included. And I have no problem. And I think we should probably, if we could at least pay for the materials like the paint or something, I don't expect them to eat the entire cost or donate it. So, by us adding the trash or the flower planters to it too, to make sure that we get included.
Okay, so
And then-
DPW didn't give me the specs on that. They only told me about the trash cans and the benches and sent me the specs and the pictures for those.
Okay.
So maybe it's something where we can go back to this company. Thank you for donating what you've donated. And now let's maybe pay for the planters.
Okay.
Go.
And some bagel
But I'll
bombs too.
Yeah, they're sitting right there in the DPWR, right next to the benches and trash cans. So I'm not quite sure how they got missed in the picture or whatever. So
Okay.
They do look an awful lot like the trash can, probably in the snow. So that might be what you might want to check the number of trash cans as opposed to that. Maybe it all got factored in as a trash can.
Okay.
all right, I've got to go to the DPW yard tomorrow. I'll double check with them just to make sure.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Then also we looked at continuing on the sidewalk repair project that they started last year. All 4 quadrants had like $2,500 worth of work done in them. And our intent is to continue doing that this year with the sidewalk repair and also the brick paver repair. So we can get rid of all the trip hazards and everything, try to get that part of it cleaned up. And then also we touched on the gazebo steps repair that we had talked about last year too. So hopefully the concrete guy can give us a price on both and include those. And then also made it aware that all the committees and everything, we have to start getting the budget prepared here in the next month or so. So everybody work together with the committees to get our budgets in so we can get that process moving. And that was it.
Thank you very much. Marie, did you have a question?
Yeah, for Pete, is there a schematic or a drawing that shows the location of all of the benches and waste receptacles in town?
No. The ones that we're talking about where we're getting them blasted and repainted and everything, those are all the ones that used to be down on the main street. And now we're moving all those to the rear of the buildings. And because now as part of the MDOT project, we've got all brand new ones coming as part of the project that they will be putting back out onto the front streets. So these are all the ones that we used to have along Main Street, and we're just going to put them on the backs of the buildings to dress things up on the back sides.
Okay.
So that has not been determined where they're going.
Okay. And is the DPW responsible for emptying the trash cans that are along the back?
They have been, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
I guess then we just need a motion to receive and file. If there's no more discussion on these.
So moved.
Show support.
Okay. Can we get the roll call, please, Justin?
Ma'am. Dorothy Jonathan,
Yes.
Nicole Ellsworth,
Yes.
Rod Charles,
Yes.
Pete Schultz,
Yes.
Bill Dunn,
Somebody cut out there. Was that my name?
yeah, Bill Dunn,
Yes.
Bree Powers,
Yes.
Kelsey Cook,
Yes.
Justin Wilcock.
Thank you. We'll move on to the unfinished old business, the sound system for downtown. Does Joe and Kelly want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, we can. So the sound system is on more of a back order than we expected because it was supposed to be a done deal back in December. They took other orders and put us on the back burner since we weren't moving on the 50% down. but it was on the bill run tonight. So they have ordered it for us. We have worked with DPW to figure out the structure that will go on top of the museum building. The main system will arrive sooner than April. So we'll be able to get that on top of the building, run the cords down, hook it up to the laptop, and then each individual pole that the speakers go on, those will arrive by April. So we should be all hooked up no later than the end of April, right in time for events. And I think it'll all work out just fine.
Yeah, and to follow up just a little bit, the DPW, Don, and they contacted the gentleman directly at Aeronetics to describe what structure, how big, what size pipe they would need to clamp to for the main transponder up on the museum roof. So they directly worked directly with him to get an idea of what they needed to construct. And I think they may already have it done, I believe, at this point.
Great.
We will need to get some kind of rubber mat. Don has some ideas on that rubber mat to set it on the roof of the museum that this A-frame or angle iron type structure will sit onto.
Well, I want to compliment Kelly and Joe on moving this along. It's been sitting there since December of 2020. Well, quite a lot, over a year we've been talking about this. So we got more done in the last couple of weeks than we've done an entire year. So compliment to both of you for taking action on this. It's really nice to see. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
One of the things we might want to do, by the way, is I know when we set this plan in motion, we said that this is going to be a two-step process. Just food for future thought is possibly we move up to second stage earlier than we had talked about, since we're already in 1 year behind. But anyhow, thank you again for taking action.
Yes, and Rod mentioned that to me earlier last week. I did talk with Jeff about it when he works. He's the sales guy for the sound system. And he said that he would get us a revised proposal so that we could move up that timing if we choose to.
Thank you. It looks like Pete has a question.
Yeah, on the rubber mat, Joe, that needs to go up there that it sits on, couldn't we talk to, or Bill Dunn talk to the Levy Corporation and see if they couldn't cut us off a piece of conveyor belt and set it on that?
I think that's what Don Brantley already has. He mentioned conveyor belt. It might have been something he got from Dan's Excavating. I'm not sure, but he already had the material around that he wanted to use, but I just got to make sure it was going to be adequate. But I think he already had something lined up, if not already in hand.
I can help him on that.
Yeah, I think, I'll talk to him. I think he said he might already have it lined up, but I'll double check.
Thank you. Any more questions on the sound system? We'll move on to the sandblasting powder coating. I know we touched on that a bit in your report, Kelly.
Yeah, I received multiple quotes before I spoke with Angie's husband, and the quotes it's about a $4,000 savings just for the 9 benches and the 6 cans, whether that be planters and garbage cans, we'll figure that out. But just looking at the other quotes from the other companies, it's roughly $4,000. So I think it's really great. And I'm hoping that we can really promote them. And I know we will from a social media perspective and show them some love for sure.
Well, that's a great job. That's very generous of them.
And they are picking up this week. Sorry, I meant to mention that.
Thank you very much.
Wow. So impressive to see this quick action after so much time of delay. Nice job. Thank you.
Yeah, and saving us some money too. So I know everyone really appreciates that too. Is there, we'll move on to C. That is the communications job. Did Nicole have a report?
She does, and I did attach it in that email if she wants to pop on here and go over it.
Okay.
Well, the communications report was underneath the DDA committee reports.
Okay.
I can go over that. So I worked on the PA 57 report and got that as far as I could get that taken care of. I attended all the promotions, the organization and the design committee meeting, the Main Street training, assisted the chamber with the community breakfast, did some updates to the website. And I posted the job on the DDA website, the village's website. I shared it on social media and made sure there were publications in Oakland County Times and Oakland Press.
Have you tried the Oxford Township website?
No, but I can post it there. The job posting closes in 11 days. So I'll be happy to add that to the township website. I can reach out to CJ regarding that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions in regard to this? Okay. I know we were going to discuss the job revisited in February. Is there any further discussion on that?
Since I'm new, could someone give me a quick update on where we are and where we're going with this?
You kind of cut out there a little bit. I don't know if it was just to me, but I only heard part of what you said.
Let me try it. Since I'm the new kid on the block, could someone give me a update on where we're going and where we're at with this topic?
I know last month, Kelsey, did you want to touch on that? Are you raising your hand? Okay.
I can. So last month we had, excuse me, our communications liaison job position on the agenda. Actually, I believe it was in December. Maybe it was January. I'm sorry. We were also talking about, hiring an interim director at the time. Obviously, we have Kelly now. And so we're going to look at the staff, the reports to the board as a whole. So Nicole Rankin's, the DDA's communications liaison. She also works for the village. I believe she works 8 hours for the DDA. And is it 24 hours for
20.
the village?
20.
20. Okay. Thank you, Joe. And so I know we were talking about hiring an interim director full-time. Obviously, we ended up getting Kelly for a lot less hours than we're initially thinking. And so we wanted to evaluate, what Nicole could continue to do and how many hours the DDA thought, we could keep her busy. So she only works 8. I think she could probably do even more. But we tabled it from the last meeting to give Kelly, and Nicole a chance to work together for a month and then revisit this to see, whether 8 hours was enough, whether we needed more, whether Kelly was taking care of everything, and just kind of looking, overall. Obviously, Nicole's been doing a lot. She helped a lot with the reporting that we needed to finish up and everything that she just mentioned. So I'd be in favor, obviously, keeping her 8 hours. And then if, I'd really look to Kelly to ask, do we need to do more, and kind of go from there. So I think it's something we can remove from the agenda going forward, but have Nicole continue to give a report, but not necessarily discuss, whether we need her or not, because that's kind of how it was brought up at the last meeting.
Kelsey, was that a motion?
I could do that. So I would to move to continue to have Nicole Rankin serve as our communications liaison for the DDA for 8 hours and provide monthly reports to the board.
I guess I'll support for discussion, I think.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I think the proposal needs to be revised, Kelsey, because one of the things we need to consider is when we have a full-time director. I think that would change things considerably. Speaking as a taxpayer, et cetera, do we really need 2 people for the same job, et cetera? So that's something that, we can say for the time being that we want to continue until we hire a full-time director. But at that point, this situation needs to be revisited. But like I said, I think I really question whether we have 2 people doing the same job.
And I don't think it should be the same job. There should be clearly defined, roles and duties for each. So maybe that's something we look at going forward.
That would be one statement, yeah. But I really, here again, as a taxpayer, I'm not really interested in creating more of a tax burden for the people that live in our district.
Well, that's one opinion. Where do we go
Welcome to another one, Bill.
I mean, I'm a new kid. I'm not sure. I don't have the background on it, but this should all be covered in a job description for the new director.
Good point.
And if Nicole is going to be part of it, we need a job description for her. But until that time, I think, you guys help me out. Do we need someone to be the communications person until we come up with this, either hiring people or getting job descriptions in there or what? Somebody help me.
Well, I think I just did, Bill. I said when we get to the point where we have a full-time director.
Okay, Pete, it looks like you have.
Yeah, I agree with Rod that I think if we're going to address it, then I think we need to wait till we get the new director on board so that they can see how much time they actually do have and the work involved. I think right now the work that Kelly is doing is quite phenomenal compared to what we've been used to. And there's a large amount of information that's been coming out now, kind of this information that I thought we should have gotten all last year throughout the entire 24 project. It was kind of the stuff that I was looking for. So I would, if we're going to not do anything tonight, then I definitely would say it needs to be on the agenda come, March or I would say April 1st, because by that time, I hope we've got a new person online. So, and look at it at that time.
What I think I'm going to do, Pete, is I don't know everybody's viewpoint. I'm going to call for the vote.
Okay.
And we'll maybe get a flavor of how everybody else feels.
Well, is there more discussion? That's the question.
So can we say what the motion was again, please?
Yeah, so my motion was to continue to have Nicole Rankin serve as the communications liaison for the DDA, and that's at her current 8 hours a week, and provide monthly updates to the board. There wasn't anything about timing.
And do you have a defined date to it, or do we need to redo that?
No, there wasn't any. I didn't have anything about timing, so it would just be until the board decides otherwise. So it's up in the air as far as timing. But for now, that was my motion. If
so you're saying it would work for right now, but we can make a change later on once we have a full-time director, right?
Right.
Okay.
That's how I looked at it.
All right. I'm okay with that.
I guess I'll call for the vote.
That's up to the chairperson.
Okay, Justin, if we could get the roll call, please, that'd be great.
Yes, ma'am. Rod Charles.
Yes.
Dorothy Johnson.
Hang on, yes.
Pete Schultz.
No.
Marie Powers.
Yes.
Bill Dunn.
Oh, golly. Yes.
Kelsey Cook.
Yes.
Justin Wilcock. Yes. And Nicole Ellsworth.
Yes. All right, we will move on to continue services with Grisham Metz. If I don't know if Kelly or Joe wants to elaborate, or maybe Pete.
Yeah, if Joe and Pete can kind of give us the scoop, just because I'm pretty new to this situation, I would love to hear more if you have any details.
Okay.
And I'll just start with, because I only know the tip of the iceberg on this too. I wasn't involved on the front end as on the Grisham Metz agreement there. It came in via email Friday afternoon, and unfortunately they didn't include Kelly on it, even though I know they had her email. So when I was digging out, going through my emails after being out last week, I came across this one this afternoon and sent it out. I included Pete on that one because I know he's been involved quite a bit. He's been there when we've met with Sue and did our walkthroughs on the east side and things like that. So he's maybe a little more familiar than most her role and some of the things she's done. But to be honest with you, that's about my extent of it, other than every now and then we have to have a submittal. MDOT will send out a question about submittals. They sent some out here a few weeks back about the color schemes on the benches and planters down for the downtown. And then we defer that to Sue. She does that because she's the one who designed them and laid them out, the schematics and the color swatches and things like that. So she does those submittals. I couldn't tell you if that was part of a different design part of her project or if that was the construction management part of her project, though. So I was never involved in that part of it. Pete might know more about that than I.
Okay. That part of it, my understanding of it was part of their main job from the very beginning is what they were supposed to be doing. In meeting with them throughout the entire task force, when we actually looked at the benches and looked at the trash cans and the bike stands and all that kind of stuff, obviously colors were talked about and everything at that point, and I thought we'd all agreed upon it. But again, I don't think we as a task force saw any of that information that was officially, quote, signed off when Glenn sent that in. So we're kind of a little bit of a void right there. There is quite a bit of stuff that still has to happen in the spring, and most of that is actually landscape related. I couldn't tell you if they showed up at the flower pots tomorrow, if those are the ones that we ordered or which ones we're supposed to have, and or the flowers and the bushes or whatever that we're supposed to be getting. I don't have that information that we can go by. So, on one hand, we're kind of like stuck with going with them for a little bit more to finish up the project and to make sure that they come through, because we still have to do final inspection even on the brick pavers that we had issues with last fall. We also have to look at doing even the crosswalks across that technically falls under the landscape design. That part of it needs to be looked at and signed off on. So all the stuff that happened in the spring. So on one hand, I guess we're kind of stuck that we've got to still continue with them in order to finish up the project.
Pete, I was able to find all of the landscaping and flowers and everything in Glenn's email. So I do have exactly what we have contracted.
Okay.
And exactly what we're supposed to be getting and what MDOT is supposed to be providing. So I do have that. I don't want them taking us for a ride. And so if it's okay with you guys, if I explore this and try to figure out, what we actually need, that way we're not just spending money to spend.
Absolutely.
Maybe I dig through some past emails and kind of explore this a little bit further.
Okay. Yeah. The whole landscape architect process hasn't been my, most appreciative part of it that they did. I don't think it was the best job that we got. But going forward to finish up the project, there's a lot of the stuff that without someone out there signing off on it and checking it, we're going to be kind of hanging out there, and I don't want that to happen. So, I can be involved, but I don't have time to run up and down there every single day to watch what's going on.
Agreed. Absolutely.
All right. So do we need a motion then to approve that or what?
I think Joe Medora had something to add.
And I was just going to add in, like Pete said, some of the aspects that Grissom Metz did when we did the walkthrough on the east side after that, and she was noticing a lot of the things, the width between the brick pavers being wider than it's supposed to be. She has an eye for things like that, and whether that was included in aspect A or aspect B of her agreement, I'm not sure. But having someone with that finite and explicit knowledge of what is supposed to happen and what looks wrong, I think is I'd hate to drop it 9/10 into the project and say, well, we don't need the expert at the end. I agree with Pete, though. I hate to expend money just for the sake of expending it. But the finish line, I think, is an important part of it. And this is probably where her helping hold MDOT's feet to the fire is probably her expertise when it comes to the little things that she will catch that someone like I would not. And I do recall just in the email that came to today, it was an hourly rate with a not to exceed price of like $12,003 or $12,004. And I think she said she exceeded that by like $200 with some recent work. So ballpark, what might be left over with her, I have no idea. But I would just hate to see us save $2,000 and end up with a little, black spot at the end of the project that we missed something. So,
Joe, I believe there was money budgeted that we had set aside for this entire quote process with the architect. Is this still ongoing?
As far as her oversight or
Yes.
design?
Yeah, I thought it was the total overall for the entire project. So, I mean, did they only bill us like maybe halfway and now we got to renew it for the other half, or?
I couldn't answer. I don't know.
It didn't sound like that in the email. It sounded like if we wanted to continue, they would provide us a new quote. The email that was forwarded to me today, that was my understanding. That the $200 that they went over was in August, and they haven't done anything since. And now we can continue, but it would be a new quote.
Okay.
This money you're talking about, are we responsible for it only, or is this being shared with some other entity?
That is ours.
$12,000? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, that's a streetscape project.
Okay.
So perhaps she can give us another estimate of a cost to finish out the project with a not to exceed price is probably what she's thinking then. And there may not be much that she needs to do between now and the next meeting. So maybe you could table it, but you don't want to have any delays, I guess.
I would say the only thing is if she could attach with that proposal would just be a scope of what she expects to have to do between now and to finish the project up.
And maybe find out what exactly that entails for the board. And I know that you have a background in design as well. So I know you can probably filter out some of the stuff that's really pressing as opposed to the things that aren't.
Yep. Perfect. Yep.
Just want to bring this back to the board then next month. Marie, did you have something?
You're muted,
you're
Marie.
on mute.
Marie, you're muted.
There we go.
You got it.
Had to hit it like 10 times. Okay, Kelly, do we know if we're satisfied with the job that was done to the contracted price, or are we? I'm sensing a little bit of uncertainty as far as whether we feel that the contract was fulfilled successfully.
For the one that we're discussing for Grissom.
Right. Yes.
So I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and see what services they actually provided for that 12,000.
Okay.
I know that, they were part of this with the flowers and everything that's slotted for the fronts of the stores. So I want to just have a better understanding of that. And also when I talked with MDOT about timing on the flowers and that project, they told us that it would be by Memorial Day. I had them give us a date in writing so that we wouldn't be into June and not have flowers. So what I'd like to do is just kind of go back and explore like what we actually think that we're going to need them for moving forward. And then I'll get a quote for that and I'll have a better understanding by next meeting.
Okay.
And if I can provide that information to all of you in an email before that, I absolutely will.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any more discussion on that? Do we need to vote on tabling this till next month, or?
Shouldn't need to, just bring it up next month.
Okay, that'll be fine. And we'll move on to the new business. We have A is the resignation of the design committee chair.
So is this an announcement or should we vote on it?
I don't think it calls for a vote. It's a volunteer position. I think it's just a statement, receive and file. There's no discussion.
We'll move to receive and file.
And I'll second that.
Thank you.
Do you have, Nicole, do you have another person in line to be the chairperson of that committee?
I'm going to reach out a little bit. I had a little discussion with somebody today and they were on vacation, so they're going to get back to me.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll move on to the design grant. I believe Valor Salon is first.
Yep, so we approved in the meeting a sign grant for them. It was backdated just because it was filed a previous time with Glenn. But now they actually came and refiled it, so it's already finished. It was just a simple one, easy. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it up. It looks beautiful. Their sign looks great. So do we need to take a vote on that to approve that, Nicole?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Sorry, we didn't vote on the last receive and file motion.
Oh, thanks, Kelsey.
Sorry about that. Justin, we just need the roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am. Bill Dunn,
Yes.
Marie Powers,
Yes.
Pete Schultz,
Yes.
Rod Charles,
Yes.
Dorothy Johnson,
Yes.
Cole Ellsworth,
Yes.
Justin Wilcock, yes, and Kelsey Cook.
Yes.
Okay. Apologize for that. We'll have the Valor Salon. We have the information on there.
Yep, everything is in the minutes
Okay.
that I sent out today.
Second. Okay. Everyone's had time to take a look at that. What was the total on that?
I'm
sorry, my computer is frozen. Can somebody grab the amount off that?
$791.39.
Thank you.
I would move to approve the sign grant request for Valor Salon in the amount of $791.39.
Second.
Yep.
Moved and seconded. We'll take the roll call then if there's no
No,
discussion.
discussion.
That's why I said if there's no discussion.
There is a discussion.
Okay, go for it.
I think it's inappropriate to retroactively do this. I think, and if you look at the minutes, Ms. Basardi had a valid point that we could be setting a bad precedent. We've had this come up several years ago. And I'm all for Valor getting something, by the way. It's nothing personal or whatever else. That's not my point. My concern is the the looking backwards and approving something, not just for this relatively small amount, but for further grants going forward. We could be setting a pretty dangerous precedent by doing this. And I realize there's all kinds of legitimate excuses. I mean, we could say there's a snowstorm tonight and I couldn't get it over to the offices. We could say, whatever else, not to sound like John Belushi, but it could be a train wreck or something, So I just don't think it's appropriate to approve things after the fact, for the fact that it is a dangerous precedent we're setting.
Kelsey?
I spoke to the owner of Valor Salon, Amanda McFarland, and she did obtain, the required number of quotes. She reached out to our former director multiple times on the grant and did not hear back. So I look at it as, the DDA kind of dropped the ball on her on this one. So she, ultimately needed a sign and went ahead and purchased it with her own money with Valor. And so I think it's appropriate in this case to make an exception.
So Kelsey, you're saying we have, like I said, my concern isn't so much Valor or the sign thing. My concern is setting a precedent. So are you comfortable so that 2 years from now, somebody comes and says, hey, I had a problem getting to the office and it was dropped. That we're going to look at this as kind of a standalone one-time event. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with this one-time exception, considering the circumstances, and there may be exceptions in the future, but I think that the, exceptions are on the record and all the steps were followed. So I'd be comfortable moving forward with this.
Well, then if that's the case, then I would agree with it. Like I said, my concern wasn't so much this other issue, it was just the possibility of setting a dangerous precedent. So I'd be good with it under those circumstances.
Did you have something to add, Mr. Don?
Yes. Years ago when I was on the DDA, someone brought it in after the fact and they were denied. So I agree with Rod. That is going to set a precedence. But I also agree with Kelsey. If the ball was dropped by the previous director, I think that's an exception that we could live with. And if somebody brings it down, brings it up a year from now or 2 years from now, look, there was an exception. The manager before dropped the ball. That's why we did it. So I'm fine with going on with it.
Yeah, I just think we make sure we document tonight in our notes, our board meeting, that because of this one-off situation, so that nobody comes back in 10 years or says something. And by the way, Joe Medora, Laura Herfey said she's trying to sign in. Anyhow, so you want to vote? Cole?
Sure. Justin, if we could get the roll call, please. Okay.
What's going on now?
To do roll call?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
I didn't hear you. Okay. Justin Wilcock, yes. Kelsey Cook,
Yes.
Nicole Ellsworth,
Yes.
Dorothy Johnson,
Yes.
Pete Schultz,
Yes.
Rod Charles,
Yes.
Marie Powers,
Yes.
Bill Dunn.
Yes.
I know Laura just got here, but
Yeah, don't add me to that.
okay.
We have a second grant at 6 North Washington. It's the old A&A Flower Building.
Yeah, so I really liked how this one was handled. So in the committee meeting, they set aside $10,000 for the facade grant. And instead of just awarding them that right away, they wanted specific details on every single thing that they were getting done. So they can get up to $10,000 from us if we approve it. And the reason why we did it this way and didn't award them anymore is we do have a couple of businesses that had filled out incomplete applications, but are trying to come in and get grants for their facade as well as awnings and signage. So we just felt like it was best to, be able to kind of spread our budget around and be able to help multiple businesses rather than just awarding them just one, because they are doing quite a bit of work, way over the $10,000. So this will provide them, and I don't know if you guys have seen, it was out on Facebook the other day, the township put it out, the exterior, it is very beautiful, and they do have really great plans for the building. So they are setting aside the $10,000 if the grant goes through and not necessarily just giving them that right away. So it might be less than that, but it won't be over the $10,000.
Is that the limit set forth by the DDA? Pete, help me out.
It's actually, there isn't a limit that they can apply for. The $10,000 is actually half of the budget that we have for facade grants until July, till our fiscal year. But we do have a separate awning budget and a separate sign budget. So we felt comfortable with the things that are kind of on the horizon and that we know are coming in for facade grants. The committee felt comfortable with awarding them up to $10,000.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So I have a question.
Yes, Dorothy.
Has that changed? Because back when I applied for it back in the day, there was a cap.
There was, yeah.
Yes. There is
The
a
cap was not discussed in the meeting. So if there is a cap, I am unaware. Do you remember what the cap was at the time, Dorothy?
10,000.
It was. Okay.
Okay.
Good to know.
Kelly?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure, and kind of this kind of question, I think, is going to Brian also. I know the design committee obviously has looked at the proposed pictures and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Before I'm willing to vote on awarding them a grant, I believe at past practices, the entire packet has to come before the board, which would include pictures, drawings, and also 3 quotes from different vendors and everybody to make sure what the price was. So it was a complete packet. So as far as voting tonight, I'm not voting on anything at this point. So I would be reticent to even vote until that packet came forward.
Okay. I know in the packet they did have the renderings, but I will go back and check on the different quotes. I'm not sure if it had the 3 individual quotes for each individual item that they were asking for the grant for. So I will check on that.
Mr. Dunn. So,
Mr. Dunn?
I would like to put a caveat in there that they pass all their permits, whether it's electrical permit, whatever, before we give any money out. We'd like to make sure that they are going to go into business. Do you think that's out of line to ask that they have a certificate of occupancy?
So I did ask them, that was one of my questions actually in the design committee, Bill. I think we're on the same page there, was if they had a tenant interested, because I do know that the upstairs, they are looking, they are renovating those to be apartments. They were in talks with a coffee shop, but that has fallen through. So at this point, they do not have someone that will be occupying that building.
well, I want to come back to what, or let me ask for Madam Chairperson to be recognized.
Yes, Rod.
So Pete brought up something that's very important, and I didn't think about either. So thank you, Pete. I forgot that in the past, we would get copies of the renderings as well as copies of the 3 quotes.
Correct.
So we need to do that unless we're going to make another exception again.
No, and I see Brian raising his hand. Maybe you can add.
That'd be public, or this is a board meeting though, is that right?
I believe he's the design committee chairperson for this meeting. And as far as this grant is concerned, he was.
I mean, I can share the information you need, but if you don't want to hear from me, that's fine too. But I do have the answers to your questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To answer your question, the design committee did agree. We didn't approve the final renderings. We didn't approve the final grant request. We simply set aside $10,000 out of the budget, earmarking it toward this project. What Kelly mentioned earlier is accurate. We're not saying we're giving them $10,000. So we're not asking the DDA board tonight to approve $10,000 to be issued to them. If you read the actual motion that was made, it's quite clear that what we're saying is we're setting aside $10,000 toward this project potentially, in that it is pending final review of qualifying approved project cost quotes. We told the applicant or the applicant's representative that we were going to need, because the original quotes that came in were for the original project. But Sue Basardi reached out to the business owner early on, because that building has been on our short list for a long time, many years, to try to remediate that large structure that comes out over the sidewalk. And so when Sue reached out to the business owner, we asked if he would be willing to go back to the drawing board and come back with a design that is more conducive to the historic preservation of the community and keeping with the design, with the plans in the community. And so he graciously agreed to do that. Didn't have to do that, but agreed to do that. And so during that process, we're trying to work with, because we're working in real time here, we're trying to be a good steward of the tax dollars, but we're also trying to be responsible for the business owner and allowing him to get all of the new information that he needs to compile now together for you. So absolutely, what you're doing tonight is just approving that budget allocation. You're not awarding a grant tonight. The grant will come later, probably at the next design committee meeting. It will be reviewed, the final plans will be reviewed, and the final quotes will come in, and at that point, you'll have the decision to make to allocate the $10,000 toward it. Also, just to clarify another thing that was mentioned earlier, we have spent more than $10,000 in the past, absolutely. And if it was a project that was worth investing in, the committee has made that exception. This is up to 50% of the total cost of the project. So the project, I think, is like $58,000 and some change, maybe even a little bit more than that. Am I correct, Kelly?
Yes, that's correct.
So $10,000 is really a drop in the bucket for them. That being said, it is a significant amount of money that can help them to be able to accomplish what we're looking for to accomplish in that quadrant of the village. Hopefully that clarifies things for you.
Do we make sure that they have a certificate of occupancy before we put out money? I see a project here in downtown or the village of Oxford that's been going on for years, and I certainly wouldn't want to put any money toward that project.
That would certainly be a decision you make in your motion when you approve the final quote on your end. That isn't necessarily under the purview of design.
I was asking just the basic question is, I would like to make sure that this project or a project is going to, come to fruition before I kick any money toward them.
Thank you, Kelsey. Did you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I understand it seems like kind of a good faith, we'll set aside this $10,000 so that they're aware that, of how much money they could get in a grant. But I'm wondering, are we afraid that if we don't earmark that $10,000 that it's going to go to another business? And then kind of on the flip side, if we earmark this $10,000, and then it's never used, are we taking that money away from possibly being used by another business? Because we're not awarding it, but we're saying we're saving it. If that's the motion, I'm just curious of how it would work out.
Wouldn't it just take a motion to undo it?
I suppose so. I guess I don't want to give them false hope if they're not going to end up getting it, but I just am curious how that would work if that's what the intention behind earmarking it is, because we want to make sure it's there.
So basically what I'm hearing you say is that this item on the agenda is merely an FYI.
Not really. You have to make a motion to set aside that money for this project. This project is moving forward, and we, in good faith, as Ms. Cook had mentioned, agreed to set aside the money toward this project. That keeping in mind that we also want to have a budget for the additional project that Kelly is talking about too, because there's two others that are on the horizon, but the full packets were not ready for review yet. So this was a way that we felt was a very good compromise toward this.
Okay, Mr. Medor.
Yes, I think so. It sounds to me like this person, they just want some kind of idea if they come back with this nicer, more historic type design that might cost a little bit more, they're going to be rewarded with a $10,000 grant. And so, right, Brian's point is we're acknowledging, yep, we're on board with you. We're going to set this money aside. So when you get your stuff done, come to the design committee, the final drafts, final grant request, and it should go forth and it should be granted if everything goes as planned. I think the question, I don't know the budget, how much is already in the budget for this remaining 4.5 months that might be shorted. Is this all the money that's in for grant facades? I don't know.
It's there's 20,000. We haven't spent any this year thus far. So there's 20,000 for facade, 10,000 for awnings, and 10,000 additional for signs. But then the 791 for Ballard did come out of the 10,000.
Okay, so I guess the person on the other end of this grant tonight is more they're going to redesign and come up with something that's more appropriate and more desired from the DDA's perspective. It may cost them a few thousand more, but they're going to get some benefit of the grant to help them, and everybody's happy. By just earmarking this tonight, you're saying, okay, we're on board with you halfway. You meet us halfway and we'll be done deal here. So I think that's kind of what the commitment is, it seems. We're going to get a little bit nicer, more appropriate facade than perhaps what they were going to start with by offering them the carrot of the extra grant. If they don't come through with it and come back with something that's appropriate, then that's their shortfall, I guess. But yes, I think it's good to go on the record that we're on our half. We're meeting them halfway.
Thank you. I know we have to hear Marie was waiting, and then Mr. Don, you'll be next. Marie, go ahead.
It sounds like we have a natural endpoint of the end of the fiscal year. Would it be unreasonable to stipulate that we get this resolved before that time, and then the clock kind of resets after July, right? Just so it doesn't drag on forever.
Right.
Madam Chair, may
Yes.
I interrupt?
Yep, of course you can.
Yeah, they know that everybody's on a time frame, and they have been very conscientious of that as well. In fact, when we took the original grant under review and we asked them if they would consider to bring us a new rendering, completely change course and bring something different to the table that wasn't necessarily what they were anticipating, but it was what we kind of wanted. They did a very quick turnaround. They had us renderings within a few weeks. The renderings. Now they don't have all the cost analysis yet. They have an assumption budget or assumpted budget, but they don't have the actual quotes in yet, and they're working on that. They know that they have to work on that. And in all honesty, this building property owner has been working with us every step of the way. His liaison has been phenomenal in responding to us. If we have any questions, they get us answers like within a 24-hour period, if not sooner. These folks mean business, and they are making a huge investment. I mean, I'm going to venture to say that they probably spent close to that $10,000 just on changing the renderings at this point. So they know that they want something that's good quality in our downtown.
Mr. Dunn?
To move it along, I'm going to make a motion to set aside up to $10,000 for 6 North Washington for a design grant.
Support.
It's been moved, supported. There's no more discussion. We'll take the roll call, please, Justin.
Yes, ma'am. Justin Wilcock, yes. Nicole Ellsworth,
Yes.
Dorothy Johnson,
Yes.
Rod Charles,
No.
Pete Schultz,
Yes.
Laura Herfy,
Yes.
Marie Powers,
Yes.
Kelsey Cook,
Yes.
and Bill Dunn.
Yes,
Motion
nice looking
carried.
building.
Yes. Okay, is there any items moved from the consent agenda? Oops, I had forgot the restaurant grants. Pardon me if I backtrack just a moment. We have to touch on the restaurant grant, and I guess I can do that for us. Basically, we attended, Kelly and I and Amy from the chamber. Joe's been very actively involved with us. Phase 2 opened up for Oakland County and the restaurants. We attended the meeting where we learned additional funds would become available to qualifying communities. In this phase, we were able to reimburse funds to the restaurants for qualifying purchases. So we'll have some cash to give out to the restaurants in addition to some items as well. And so on phase 2, the DDA was awarded the first payment of $7,383.60. And then after we generate a report to Oakland County detailing the allocation of that money, we'll be granted another $3,164.40 if the demand still presents itself for reimbursement by the restaurants in our district. So we were also allotted $11,912 worth of products in phase 2, including freestanding sanitation stations, sanitizer refill, another igloo, a couple more heaters, and Mr. Medor was able to secure us 200 more propane refills at the end of phase 1. So we have those available for the restaurants as well. Between phase 1 and 2, we were able to secure $41,562 for weatherization to support our restaurants. So that was really great. Is there anything anybody else wants to add to that?
Well, I want to compliment you again for the work and time you put into this. The township board meeting that myself and Mr. Dunn were at this past week, the township got some money for restaurants too. I think, what was it, Bill, about 13,000 or something like that?
Yes, in that range.
Yeah, so putting together what you guys have done with what they've done, I think a lot of the business owners in our community should be pleased at the effort that's going on with the village, the DDA, the township, et cetera. It's really nice to see all this positive activity going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for that. And then I think we just have the items moved from consent agenda, which I don't believe there was any. Do we have any board member comments?
Yeah, it looks like Laura is on stalking someone. She's on the move. That's all the comment I have.
Laura, why don't you show us some outdoor scenes if you're in Arizona?
It's beautiful, guys. I'm sorry, I don't want to make anybody jealous, but as some of you know, I'm a snowbird. I'm licensed in the state of Arizona, so I'm actually in the state of Arizona right now. It was 77 and sunny today, and it's just beautiful out. So my apologies, but this is my place in Arizona, so it's really nice out here. The mountains, scenery with the mountains, it's really pretty.
Well, I'm so glad I asked.
Sorry, my apologies. Oops.
That's
Yes,
all I have.
Kelsey?
I just wanted to say, I think, Kelly, you're doing a phenomenal job. So thank you for all the time that you're putting in and the effort. I think that the businesses are really seeing a difference. I think, and I said this at the village council meeting too, you know, just the fact that we've gotten so many more volunteers to be on committees shows that we're going in the right direction. So, and that's a compliment to all the board members as well. And Kelly is at the forefront of that, along with Nicole. It is amazing to me how much work Nicole has put in. This has literally been like a second full-time plus job for her, getting us to the point we're at today. You know, she was in the office doing everything from cleaning it to like, you know, getting year-end reports done that weren't done. I know Mr. Dunn stepped in to help with that as well. So thank you very much. But the amount of work and effort Nicole has put into this is just also phenomenal. So much, you know, praise and applause to you. So thank you, Nicole. And then thanks to all the other members who've stepped up and just gotten our committees on track moving forward. You know, I do spend a little bit of time at every village council meeting, just letting them know and all the public that we've had. Recently, we've had a pretty big draw of public just because we're talking about marijuana business licenses in the village. So I make sure to let everybody know that's on the Zoom meeting, all the great things that the DDA is doing. So thank you to everyone here and to Joe Medor as well, because I know you stepped in, you know, you're an ex officio board member to the DDA, obviously village manager, but you played a large role in getting us, you know, kind of where we are today to keep moving forward, you know, successfully and how we should have been moving for a little while. So I appreciate that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelsey. And if I can just reiterate how much of a help Nicole has been, I couldn't do this without her. We talk every day, work right alongside each other. I copy her on all the emails. And I said to somebody today, I said, I don't know how she does her regular job and then does, you know, this one too. I don't think she sleeps. So, and Joe, thank you for letting me always pop into your office. I'm very appreciative. And everybody this week, I mean, Bill Dunn popped in this week and I said, hey, I need help on this. And he just took it and got it back to me the next day. And all of you guys, I'm very appreciative. And I think we're heading in the right direction.
Thank you very much. You've been doing a great job. And I'm really, really proud of everybody for getting involved. And those that attended the training.
Justin.
What's that?
Is Justin go around all the board member comments? Is that what you're doing, Justin?
Oh, I'm just listening.
We were doing board member comments. I asked if anybody had any comments. They were just kind of raising their hands. Did you have a comment?
In that case,
Oh, raising my hand? I'm sorry.
I'll reiterate what you guys have just said. Nicole Ellsworth has been doing a phenomenal job. I think she's very invested in the success of the DDA, and it shows. And Kelsey, I appreciate what you bring to the table too, by the way. And I'll even compliment Joe Medor. Gosh, what can I say? You know, but I'm really impressed with the group here. Kelly Westbrook, very impressed with yourself. So it's a lot of good stuff to see. I talked to a former client of mine last week who lives up on the pier, and I know they could, you know, I know they'd love to see kind of stuff that we're doing right now. So I see a lot of positive motion going forward. So let's all keep up the good work.
Anybody
End of
else
story.
have a comment?
No, like everybody else, Joe, Kelly, Nicole, you guys did a great job, and it's nice to get things moving forward in a nice pace. So good job, buddy.
Thank you very much. Okay, and then we'll move on to the extended public comment if there's any. Yes, Brian?
As many of you know, I've been part of your organization for a long time, probably close to 10 years now. And it's sad that I'm sort of parting under these circumstances. But at the end of the day, we have very philosophical differences about how to run an organization. And that being said, I want you to be successful. I do. I'm not just a volunteer. I'm your librarian. I'm your town librarian. I'm your library director. I've built friendships with so many of you on the screen over the years. And it is not something I take lightly, stepping away. But I felt that under the circumstances, at least for now, it's probably a healthy thing for us to let each other breathe, for you to grow as an organization, for you to move forward. And for me to step back and not be as involved at the level that I've been involved in, so that I can look at the picture with a different lens, and hopefully someday come back to the table and join you again. It is, I know there's a lot of speculation as to what I'm thinking in my head, and some of that perhaps might be true, but I think a lot of it is misconception. In that even though I've been very, very critical, and I don't apologize for being critical, because it forces you to be better at what you do. I'm going to continue to be I may be stepping away as the design committee chair in my involvement with the DDA, but I also want you to know that I mean it when I say I want you to be successful, and that I am your librarian first. I will always be your librarian. And if there's anything that I can do to help you be successful, to get you the information you need in order to make that happen, whether it be researching a law or researching, anything that I can do, I'm here for you to be your support network as your librarian. So on that note, again, I have a phenomenal crew that I worked with on design. Ms. Basardi has been with me through the whole process. So it's very difficult to walk away from something that I feel so compassionate about. But I think that someday things will heal and we'll be able to move forward again. So thank you for trusting in me to do what I did for the time that I've been with you, and it's been a pleasure serving you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, need the roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am. Justin Wilcock, yes. Kelsey Cook,
Yes.
Bill Dunn,
Yes.
Bree Powers,
Yes.
Laura Herfy,
Yes.
Pete Schultz,
Yes.
Dorothy Jonathan,
Yes.
Rod Charles,
Yes, but I think Laura should stay for an hour.
Detention.
and Nicole Ellsworth.
Yes. Okay, our next DDA board meeting will be Monday, March 15th, 2021 at 7 p.m. We'll see everybody in the committees. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Auf Wiedersehen.